The mirror in room 104. I used to work the night shift at a small inn just off a rural highway in northern Maine. It was mostly empty in the off-season, just me, the front desk, and the occasional traveller looking for a cheap room and hot coffee. Room 104 was the one room we never rented. It wasn't officially closed, but the manager always marked it as under maintenance. I never really questioned it. The place was old, plumbing problems weren't rare. But I did ask once. Too many complaints, she said. Voices, cold spots, weird dreams, bad for business. That should have been enough for me. But one stormy night, after a long power outage, I saw something I can't explain. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I noticed a soft, flickering light coming from under the door of room 104, like candlelight. I thought maybe someone broke in. I grabbed the master key and crept down the hall, heart pounding. When I reached the door, I knocked. No answer. I unlocked it and pushed the door open. The room was dark, pitch black. No lights, no candles. The bed was still made. The window was locked from the inside. But the mirror above the dresser? It was fogged up, like someone had just breathed on it. I stepped closer. In the condensation, I saw a word written by a finger backwards in the glass. Stay. And then, behind my reflection, I saw her. A woman in a long black dress standing by the bed. No eyes, just empty sockets. She raised a hand like she was reaching for me, and my reflection mimicked it, even though I wasn't moving. I ran. Didn't close the door, didn't turn off the lights. The next morning, I told the manager what I saw. She didn't seem surprised, just sighed and said, Room 104 used to be part of the original house. Before it was an inn. That mirror's been there since 1912. I quit a week later. 2. This is one of those stories that if it had not happened to me, I would never believe it. I used to work the night shift at a gas station off Route 6, middle of nowhere. After midnight, it was usually dead quiet, no cars, no people. That's the reason I took the shift in the first place. Most days were like that, nothing happened, just a few cars here and there, and rarely a few people actually coming into the store. This one night, around 1 a.m., pump 4 activated. No car. I looked outside, lot was empty. I cancelled the transaction. Seconds later, it started again. Same pump, I stepped out. It was freezing out there. The handle was off the cradle, slowly swaying, like someone had just let go. Then the door chime rang. I turned. A man stood by the coffee machine, tall, drenched, pale, like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. He didn't speak, just stared at the pot. I backed behind the counter, looked up again. He was gone. No chime, no footsteps, nothing. The security footage showed me talking to no one. The door never opened, but the coffee pot, freshly filled, was bone dry. I quit the next morning. Last summer, I house-sat for my aunt in a rural part of Pennsylvania. She'd inherited this old farmhouse from a relative and was going abroad for 6 weeks. The house was over 150 years old, creaky and isolated, surrounded by woods and fields. I figured I'd get some writing done, maybe enjoy the peace. The first few nights were quiet, apart from the usual settling sounds of an old house. But by the 4th night, I started waking up around 3 a.m., always to the sound of footsteps, not from inside the house, but above me. There was no second floor, just an attic I hadn't bothered exploring. I convinced myself it was animals, raccoons or squirrels. But one night, something changed. I'd been asleep for a few hours when a loud thud jolted me awake. Then the footsteps again, slow, deliberate, directly above me. I grabbed the flashlight and, against better judgment, climbed the narrow stairs to the attic. The door was jammed. I shoved it hard, and it gave way. The attic was empty, except for a single wooden rocking chair in the center. Rocking. I stood frozen, no breeze, no open windows. Then I heard it. A whisper, right behind me. "Why did you wake me?" I turned, heart hammering, but no one was there. I bolted down the stairs, barely remembering to close the attic door behind me. I packed up my things and left. I called my aunt from my car outside the house. I asked if she'd experienced anything like this. She said she had not, but then she went silent. I asked her what was wrong. She hesitated, then said, "The original owner of this house, my great-grandfather, had been found dead in the attic." I didn't even say anything and just left.
I used to think sleep paralysis was just a weird quirk of the brain. You know, the body's still asleep while the mind wakes up. Harmless. That was before it started happening to me. The first time I woke up in my bed completely frozen. I couldn't move my arms, legs, not even my tongue. Panic surged through me like electricity. My eyes darted around the room, and that's when I saw it. A tall, thin silhouette standing in the corner, not moving, not breathing, just watching. I couldn't blink, I couldn't scream. It didn't move, but it felt like it was getting closer. My vision started to blur from the dryness, and finally, like snapping a string, I jerked awake, gasping. The room was empty, but the fear stayed. The second time it stood closer, right beside the bed, I could see its face, or the lack of one, just smooth grey skin stretched across where features should be. I tried to scream again, nothing came out. Again, I broke free, my body shaking. This time, I noticed something new, handprints on the edge of my bedsheet. I tried not to sleep for days after that, but last night, I didn't wake up in my bed. I woke up on the floor, paralyzed, staring at the bed from the outside, and something was lying in my place. It turned its head toward me, my face, my eyes. It smiled and blinked. 5. I'll start this off by saying that I never believed in ghosts. That changed the night I stayed in my uncle's cabin deep in the Oregon woods, isolated, no cell service, and the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. He passed away a few weeks prior, and I went up there to clean it out for the family. I figured I'd stay the night, get it done quickly, and drive back by morning. The first few hours were fine, dusty, full of cobwebs, but fine. I did some cleaning and then relaxed. I made a fire, had a drink, and settled into the creaky old recliner he always used to sit in. That's when I noticed something off. There was a photo on the fireplace mantel, one I hadn't seen before. It was of him, smiling, but not alone. Next to him stood a tall figure, obscured in shadow, wearing what looked like an old-fashioned black suit. No face, just darkness. I picked it up, confused. My uncle had no siblings, no children, and barely any friends. Then I heard the floorboard creak behind me. I turned fast. Nothing. I told myself it was the house settling, that old cliché. But then came another sound, breathing, shallow, behind me, slow and measured, like someone standing inches from my ear. I spun again, still nothing, but the fire had gone low and the shadows in the cabin had thickened. That's when I noticed it, the reflection in the window, my silhouette, and a second one, taller, looming right behind me. I didn't turn around this time. I ran, out the door, into the freezing woods, barefoot. I didn't stop until I saw headlights on the road and flagged down a truck. The next morning, the sheriff drove me back. The cabin looked the same, except for one thing. The photo was gone, but in its place, taped to the mantel, was a Polaroid. It was me, sitting in the recliner, frozen in terror, and just behind me, clearer than ever, that tall, shadowed man.